How Not to Sail, sponsored by our awesome Patreon patrons and Latitudes and Attitudes magazine. They ruin my life, so why not let them ruin yours today at latsats.com. Ahoy there, Bradford here. So I was planning this week to have Sandra and Jimmy's Gulf crossing in sailing vessel Utopia, but there's some more homework to do on that one. However, I do have some listener questions that have been coming in, and you may be interested in the answers to some of them. I've even rounded up a couple of so-called experts at tremendous expense and at the very last minute. So pop open a frosty beverage if you feel like it, and join me as I answer your How Not to Sail questions. So I should probably mention in passing that this morning we almost flooded again at the house, which would be now 2 days ago as you hear this on the release day. I am tickled stinkless to report that this is the 7th straight episode that we've done on a 2-week basis. I do aim to continue that with the slight modification that since April would have 3 episodes, the one after February 25th will be April 15th, Tax Day. I was actually pretty much completely finished with the episode with Sandra and Jimmy in their Gulf crossing in sailing vessel Utopia, but I decided that we need to do a couple of things for due diligence that will probably be apparent when you hear it. Or maybe not. But anyway, we still need to do those things, so that will maybe be the next episode. I think it's going to be a great story that you're going to enjoy and likely empathize with. If it's not that one, it's likely to be one called Reefer Madness, which, if you're a cruiser, you'll know has nothing to do with smoking anything or diving. But let me just jump into our first question, and it's a good one, and I'm thrilled to be able to answer this one, our old friend from Season 1, Captain Billy Shine. Captain Billy Shine here, your resource for all things nautical. And stuff about boats, too. Coming to you today live from Edgar's Eats on Little Rocky Creek over in Dixie County. Remember to bring your own beverage. Anyway, today's question comes from Johnny Hugh in Cross City, who says, I'm pretty new to boating. Is there anything I should know about anchoring? Well, Johnny Hugh, you asked the right guy. You see, most folks don't know the number one rule of anchoring, which is, the best anchor is a clean anchor. And as it happens, old Captain Billy's got just the technique for keeping your anchor nice and clean. As a matter of fact, I first saw this down in the BVI, where it's very popular among the bareboat sailing folks. What they do is they let the anchor straight down until it just touches the bottom, and then they stop. Then they usually play some kind of game where they go off to the bar in their dinghy and come back later to try and find out where their boat went. It's real popular with the Europeans, but I think it's catching on with the Americans too. Glad I could help, Johnny Hugh, and remember, the only place you can get better nautical advice than old Captain Billy is at hownottosail.com. Well, I thank Captain Billy for his nautical advice. And speaking of smart people, this is probably the ideal time to remind everybody that if you have signed up for or applied for the Facebook group and do not see yourself in there yet, you must answer the 3 screening questions to show that you're actually paying attention and say that you'll abide by the rules of the group. That's just how we roll. Anyway, to go along with Captain Billy, we have another nautical celebrity, even bigger than Captain Billy, coming up in a second. But first, this email question from Frank about a person who is kind of becoming a celebrity. Frank asks, what's up with Blowtorch Mike? What's he up to, and when will we hear from him again?
Well, what a pain in the ass. The ball valve's gone.
Wow.
That's interesting, Bradford.
I'm pretty sure Frank's talking about my buddy Mike, who was in episode 28, I want to say, and 29, because that's the only time to my recollection that we've had a blowtorch aboard JC Sails.
You want me to see if I can break these bolts loose?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, I promise it wasn't as bad as it sounded. To be honest, we had actually just stuffed a single paper towel into the orifice where the water pump had been after it was taken out, so we wouldn't get a bunch of dust and stuff inside of there. And paper towels are subject to high temperatures. How not to sail 101. Flammable items may catch fire when exposed to flame or high heat. But anyway, to answer your question, Frank, and thanks for the email, I just texted with Mike the other day, and you never know when he might be showing up on the podcast next. In fact, I don't know. But anyway, Mike is turning into one of our more popular characters, even though he's actually a human being. Speaking of emails, don't forget if you go to the little contact tab on HowNotToSail.com, there's a link to email me. There's also another link to remind you that the How Not to Sailor hotline is at 770-458-3838, and we'll be doing a little voicemails from there next podcast, if I don't have a senior moment. But now for the coup de grace. Seems like I kind of like to do questions in groups of 3, just like waves supposedly come in groups of 3. And I have saved the coup de grace for last. And this one comes from the YouTube channel, where Doug has a question, well, it's sort of in the form of a comment, about our guest from the last show, which was entitled Captain Boomies and the Bear. Doug says, the question you did not ask Bear and Boomies is how they came by their nicknames. They have seen your through-hulls and you have shot the shit, so you're close enough to ask. I figured the wisest course of action here would be to go to the source. So we did. Because no relatively minor effort's too great for a How Not to Sailor.
Well, Doug, this is going to require me telling you a land-based story. Bear and I were out in the hills of somewhere or other riding bicycles. I kind of hate bicycles because I am really at captaining them. We were biking up our last hill of the day when suddenly my husband leaps off his bike, whips out his pocket knife, and starts yelling for me to ride back down the hill. Oh my God. What he didn't know is that I was already off my bike and huffing and puffing up this hill, and there was no chance that my very wobbly butt was getting back on this bike while trying to balance on a hill of any kind. But he's still yelling and flailing, so I look to see what's the matter. And it's a bear crossing the road. So there's my knight in shining cargo shorts ready to throw himself at this beast. The bear looks over his shoulder, cocks its head at old cargo shorts there, shrugged, and kept walking. This bear could not have cared less that this little pipsqueak was flailing at him. But I liked that my guy would give everything to protect me. So I started calling him Bear. Ah, the name Captain Boomies. It's because it sounds like boobies.
I really have nothing to add after that, so I'll just say come back and join us on March 25th when we'll either have the Jimmy and Sandra Sailing Utopia episode or the one I'm currently calling Reefer Madness, or something else. Thanks as always to our awesome Patreon patrons and Latitudes and Attitudes magazine. They ruin my life, so why not let them ruin yours today at latsats.com. Don't forget you can get the podcast, blog posts, YouTube channel, book, email list, and all that kind of good stuff at hownottosail.com. And you can always find the show notes for the episode, like this one would be hownottosail.com/33. I have no idea what I'm going to put there since this is a listener question episode. Maybe my daiquiri recipe. Yeah, that sounds like a good thing. I'll put the daiquiri recipe there. Meanwhile, keep your Windex out of the water, and I'll see you next time on How Not to Sail. Screwing up is part of cruising. Let me show you how.